Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to my channel, I Hate Rock Music. And today I want to talk about the amazing band Automatic Man. And if you haven't heard them, I'll put a link below. Check them out. Released two albums. The first one is truly incredible. So let's go into the story a little bit. They were formed by Michael Shrieve after he left Santana. He got involved in a couple of different projects, and then he formed a new band in 1975, and it's Michael Shrieve on drums, Bayate, whose real name is Todd Cochran, on keyboards, Pat Thrall on guitar, and Donnie Harvey on bass. And a real all-star band, a lot of them with jazz backgrounds. Todd Cochran released a couple of jazz albums in the early 70s under his name, and so has that pedigree. And Donnie Harvey also was a known figure in the San Francisco scene as a jazz bassist. And so this combination of musicians was really stellar. And they got together and they went to London and recorded their album at Olympic Studios with Keith Harwood, who's a famous producer. And so they had a lot of backing, and well, they should. Michael Shrieve, of course, was a known quantity, and Island had had some success with some of his side projects. And so they recorded their first album, Automatic Man, that was released in 1976. And Todd Cochran actually wrote most of the material, and they had multiple singers. So the album is very cohesive, but it's amazing. They had three people that could sing, and very, very convincing. And they played the Montreux Jazz Fest and a bunch of other live shows in Europe at festivals. And then they came back to San Francisco and did a handful of gigs. So they didn't play that many shows. And I guess one of the problems was they had a hard time pulling off that first album live. And it's understandable. So let's talk about that first album. It's really an interesting amalgamation. It's basically pretty hard rock, but there's a lot of interesting jazz influences and definitely some interesting funk influences. The single released off the album, My Pearl, actually reached number 97 in the Billboard charts. And so it was pretty catchy and pretty funky. But when you get into the album, it's pretty amazing. There's a lot of great keyboard washes. Pat Thrall's guitar work is near Hendrixy in a lot of parts. And the songs are really memorable, but it's really a dramatic record, pretty much unlike anything I've ever heard. And it's really a shame that the promise of the band wasn't fulfilled, because soon after that, both Michael Shrieve and Donnie Harvey, the rhythm section, left, and they brought in Jerome Rimson on bass and Glenn Simmons on drums. And that album was produced by Michael Floyd. So it still has the core band of Bayate and Pat Thrall, and it does have some good moments on it. And once again, it has a lot of jazz influences and funk influences. And Pat Thrall's guitar work is still great, but it's very much toned down and a lot more commercial. And so a lot of people were really disappointed by it. Island gave Automatic Man a 2-album deal, and they fulfilled that. And sales of the second record were very dismal, and the band broke up. But don't cry any tears for any of them, because all of those former members, Michael Shrieve, Bayate, Pat Thrall, Donnie Harvey, even Jerome Rimson and Glenn Simmons, all had very successful careers as studio musicians and with other bands, and so they all thrived and are very successful. But they left behind that one album, and it kind of reminds me of Captain Beyond in a way. Captain Beyond, their first album, was absolutely stellar, and then they changed members and released a second album that was considerably different. And just like Automatic Man, the first album was a great success. The second album had dismal sales, and the band broke up. And so there's a lot of kinship to me, because the first Captain Beyond is so stellar. And the second record is good, but definitely a lot different band than on the first album. And the same thing with Automatic Man. That first album is a stunning achievement, and the second record is listenable. and has some good moments, but it is a pale shadow of what came before. And it's really a shame with that stellar lineup, and particularly with Michael Shrive's amazing drumming. It's too bad they didn't stay together as that unit and put out at least another record, if not more. A great band, but it's kind of baked in the cake that they wouldn't last. In a small way, they were all superstars on their own, all very independent on their own, and it's pretty amazing they even came together to do that one record. But what a singular vision. Everybody was definitely on board with everything they did on the first Automatic Man album. It's flawless, and the material is great, and everything about it is great. The singing, the writing, incredible guitar work, and Bayate's really interesting jazzy keyboards all over it, and great theme too. They talk a lot about aliens. So anyway, I'll post the album below. There's also a B side to their first single called Wallflower that wasn't released on any albums. And just to have another tidbit from the original Automatic Man is great. But too bad they're so short-lived. Unfortunately, a lot of the bands I talk about are really amazing, and they only manage to put out one album, and sometimes, if we're lucky, two. And Automatic Man is certainly a case like that. And as I said before, you've never heard anything quite like it. There's never been a band like Automatic Man, and there hasn't been a band like them since. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.